Hey guys, Carl Allen, hope all is well. I want to do a really quick video for you. I want to talk about buy box, right? So before we talk about buy box, let's talk about the size of deals that you ideally want to be doing. So we kind of have a sweet spot of deals that we're doing that are in the kind of 1 to 5 million range in terms of annual revenue. You can drop down a little bit below that in some industries, and also in other industries you can go up to potentially $10 million in revenues. And this is why you need to stay within this kind of lane, right? Because if you go below $1 million in most industries or $500,000 in others, like healthcare, then you're really inheriting a job. You're buying a job. You're buying a business from an owner operator that, because of the small size of the business, that operator is not going to have a middle management layer in that business that can run that business for you. And then if you go and hire somebody to run it for you, you're basically eating away all of the cash flow. So at $1 million, you ideally want to be north of that. And then really when you get above $5 million, what tends to happen is there's a lot more price action. So trade buyers, private equity funds, family offices, they typically don't even start looking at deals until they get to $10 million in revenues, and in some industries as low as 5, particularly in like SaaS and e-com and technology and all those sorts of things. So if you stick to the 1 to 5 range, you're not buying a job, you're buying a business. It's got management, systems, all those different things. And you stay below 5 million, you're kind of getting away from a lot of the competitive action that we see from trade buyers and financial buyers alike. So 1 to 5 million, that's where you should be focusing. And then really, that's kind of element 1 of deal origination. And then there's 3 things that your buy box has to do. There's 3 levers that you need to pull, right? And your buy box is going to be very, very different than mine, but my buy box and your buy box has to tick the same 3 key requirements. So the first one is your requirement, right? So the deal has to be in your lane. What does that mean? So you want to be buying businesses in industries that you know, industries that you're passionate about, industries that you can have meaningful conversations about, industries where you can add a lot of value to the business post-closing. Even if you're going to be an owner, investor, rather than an owner operator, you might want to get involved in doing more deals, the culture, the strategy, the vision, all those different things. If you've never been in that industry and you have no idea what's going on, then why would you buy a business in that space? If for whatever reason you find an incredible business, it's cash flow like crazy, it's got a really sensible valuation, and you're like, I just got to have this business, it's perfect, then go and partner with somebody. Just go and find a partner, either in one of my communities or anywhere else, LinkedIn, doesn't matter. Go and partner with somebody that has the chops, that has the knowledge in that industry. And what's going to make that really important for you is 2 things. Number 1, it's going to be a lot easier for you to acquire the business in the first place. Imagine going and meeting a business owner and you want to get creative on the deal structure, right? They're not going to entertain you if they're not convinced that you're going to be the right new owner for that business. So if you've come out of one industry and you want to buy in another and you know nothing about it, sellers aren't going to take you seriously. So it's going to be a lot harder to close that deal. And then it's also going to be really, really hard for you to raise capital to buy that business if indeed the deal needs some capital, which most deals do, right? So it's going to be really, really hard. Imagine sitting down with a bank or a private equity investor and saying, hey, I found this deal and I want to buy it. And say, well, great. Like, what are you going to do with it? And you go, I don't know. I've got no idea. I don't know the industry. I have no passion for it. Like, I don't know, it's just got great cash flow. Well, that's not going to work, right? So you've got to stay within your lane. And again, think about the network that you have that you can plug into that business to make it grow, make it more profitable. And then again, stick to that 1 to 5 million sweet spot. Or as I said, you can go down to $500,000 or up to 10 million revenues in some industries. And then really think about, what do I want to do in this business? Do I want to be an owner, investor like me and have a portfolio and then ultimately buy businesses anywhere in the world? Or do I want to be an owner manager? There's no kind of right or wrong answer. Like, it's fine. If you want to be an owner manager, owner operator, you want to buy a business, you want to go in there and you want to drive the bus, you want to be the day-to-day GM of that business, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what you've got to realize, if that's what you're going to do, is you're going to have to find a business that's close to where you live or close to where you want to live, right? So if you live in Boston and you want to stay in Boston, you're looking for deals in Boston, right? So that's narrowing down your search in terms of your deal origination. Alternatively, if you live in Boston and you want to move to California, right? Or you live in England and you want to move to the United States, then you can use an acquisition actually to get a visa, it's called an E2 investor visa, which allows you to legally work in the US, get a social security number, get a credit card, a cell phone, a car, a mortgage, all those crazy things. So think about where you want to live. If you want to move to LA, or you might say, well, hey, I don't care where I live, I just want to buy a business, right? You find a business in Iowa. Great, I'll move to Iowa because I want to go in and I want to run that business. And again, there's no right or wrong answer. You can buy one business and do a roll-up. You can buy one business and do bolt-on acquisitions. You can still make a lot of money becoming an owner-manager, but as an owner-investor, that's for people that are more visionary like me or creative. You want to work on the business, not in the business. You want to be doing strategy or vision or culture or deals or JV partnerships or big ticket client relationships. That's what an owner-investor does. An owner-manager manages the employees, manages the customers, and keeps the bus on the road at all times. I'll tell you a quick story about this. So one of my protege students, Ed, he's an ex-global sales leader at IBM. Very, very high-powered person, made a lot of money in the technology industry. So I had a call with him, and I'm like, so Ed, let's talk about your buy box. He said, great, thank you for asking me that question. I want to buy a vineyard. I'm like, wow, okay. I thought you'd be an ex-IBM. You were going to buy an IT services company or a technology business or a SaaS company or something that's technology related, because that's your lane, that's your wheelhouse. It's like, yeah, but you know what? I'm a little bit bored of tech. I've made my money. I've worked for IBM for a long time. I want to buy a vineyard. I said, okay, tell me, why do you want to buy a vineyard? He said, because I love drinking red wine. Okay, great. Well, what do you know about growing wine, fermenting wine, bottling wine, distribution, marketing, operations, like soil, all that stuff? What do you know about all that? He said, nothing. I just like drinking wine. I said, I know. Well, why don't you go and buy an IT services company and make loads and loads of money and then buy as much wine as you want, right? Why do you want to own a vineyard? He said, because I just think it'd be really, really cool owning a vineyard. I said, well, great. If that's what you want to do, then you've got to partner with somebody. Because imagine you rock up to the vineyard in Napa Valley, retiring business owner, has built this vineyard. It's like his baby, his child. And you sit down with him and he says, so why do you want to buy my business? I said, because I like drinking wine. I don't know nothing about your industry. I don't know anything about what you do. I got no idea. And yeah, I'll put a manager in. He'll figure all that stuff out. You're not going to build rapport. It's highly unlikely you're going to get that deal. And if you do, you're going to be paying a lot of money for it, primarily at closing. So your ability to get creative in a deal structure is directly proportional to the amount of relationship, know, like, and trust and rapport that you build with that seller. So being from the industry, being passionate about it, knowing how it works, knowing how to impact change and growth and value creation, those are all things that are going to massively, massively help you. So stay in your lane. It's the number one thing I say 100 times a day. Stay in your lane, really important. The second thing that you want to think about is you want to find a distressed seller of a good business, not the other way around, right? There's lots of good sellers of distressed businesses. So what's a distressed business versus a distressed seller? So a distressed business is a business that's not making any cash flow, right? Don't buy those businesses. You're going to be inheriting somebody else's headache. You want a business that's profitable, right? So a distressed seller is a business that's profitable, but the seller is not profitable. The seller is distressed in some way. They could be wanting to retire. They could be burnt out. They could be frustrated. They could be completely run out of ideas. They could be sick. They could be dying in some cases, and not just them. It could be a family member, like a spouse or a child or something like that. And they get to the point where, like, the business, they just don't want it anymore and they want to exit, right? And if you know that only 1 in 11 businesses that tries to sell actually does within the first 12 months, you want to be looking out for these distressed sellers. And in my protege program, we have an algorithm that we use to measure seller psychology. It's called the MUD score, right? M is for motivation. How motivated are they to want to sell for the reasons that we just talked about? U is urgency. So how quickly do they want to come out of their business and close the deal? And then D is how much distress do they have, and we measure it, right? So again, you're looking for a distressed seller of a good business, not the other way around. You want somebody that's highly motivated to want to exit the business. And then the third thing that you need, and we kind of hinted on it before, is you need a business that's got some financial DNA. What does that mean? So at the very least, the deal has to have cash flow. If it's got cash flow, people will give you money to buy it. A bank, an investor, or sometimes a combination of both. If it doesn't have any cash flow, a bank's not going to lend you any money, right? Why? Because you need cash flow to pay back the debt that you're going to be taking on to buy the company from the previous owner. So it has to have cash flow. And then historically, if you use like the SBA 7A loan program, you needed to have assets as well. So they wanted you to do deals in like engineering or construction, where there's a lot of assets that the bank can use as collateral, but not anymore. With all the changes that have happened with the SBA 7A loan program and the 504 if you're buying real estate as well, with 7A, you don't need an asset-rich business. They just want to see cash flow. So you can buy a SaaS company, you can buy a CPA firm or another professional services company that only has human assets or intellectual property. It doesn't have things like machinery or offices and all those different things. Like online businesses where people work from home, those are now great deals utilizing a lot of the financing programs that we're seeing inside the United States. So cash flow is everything. The more cash flow your business has, the easier it is to finance. It's that simple. So let's summarize. There are three things that you need to do primarily in your buy box. Stick to your own lane, really, really important. Figure out whether you want to be an owner investor versus an owner manager, and then stick to that 1 to 5 million revenue sweet spot. Number two, find a distressed seller of a good business, someone that's highly, highly motivated to want to come out and sell to you. And then number three, look for businesses that have got cash flow, and then typically you want to be paying a maximum of 3 times that cash flow. Sometimes it's called SDE, sometimes it's called EBITDA. I'll be doing a video about the differences in that soon, but those are the 3 things that you've got to do. Hope you found that useful in defining your buy box, and I look forward to seeing what your buy boxes are. Comment below the video, tell me what your buy boxes are, and then hit like and subscribe, and I'll make sure that you get access to everything that I'm putting out on this channel. And if there's anything that you want to know that I haven't covered yet in this channel, type it in the chat. My team will relay that back to me, and I will do a video just for you, my friend. So have a great time. I will see you soon. Until then, bye for now.